Here we will examine the three types of arteries: the elastic arteries, the muscular arteries, and the arterioles. So the diagram to the left shows us that the elastic arteries are the large arteries that are generally in close proximity to the heart. As the elastic arteries move away from the heart, they branch and become the muscular arteries. The muscular arteries then distribute blood to the body's arterioles, which are the small diameter arteries that deliver blood to capillary beds. Although they are important, the body's systemic arteries make up only a small fraction, about 15%, of the total blood vessels in the body. So let's begin with the elastic arteries. So the largest diameter arteries are the elastic arteries. They are named as such because they contain more elastic connective tissue than other vessel types, including the other arteries. And this elastic tissue is primarily located in the external elastic membrane of the tunica media. These arteries are generally in close proximity to the heart. So we see that these are the arteries that make up the aorta and its major branches. So the aorta and its major branches, such as the brachiocephalic artery, the right and left subclavian arteries, and the right and left common carotid arteries, are all elastic arteries. Also, we see that the pulmonary trunk is an elastic artery, although it is not shown in this diagram. The elastic arteries generally have a large diameter and a wide lumen. So having a wide lumen means that the resistance to blood flow will be low, which means that blood flows very easily through these vessels. So as we will see later, low resistance means high rates of blood flow. The elastic arteries function as pressure reservoirs. When the ventricles pump blood into the elastic arteries, the high pressure of that blood coming out of the ventricles causes the elastic arteries to stretch. And once the ventricles relax and the semilunar valves close, the elastic arteries recoil and continue to push that blood away from the heart. So this recoil helps to assist the pumping action of the ventricles, and it helps to move blood even after it has been ejected from the ventricles of the heart. Next, we have the muscular arteries. They are called muscular because they have a large amount or a large proportion of smooth muscle in their tunica media. And most of the body's arteries are muscular arteries. We see that the muscular arteries are not as stretchy as elastic arteries, so they do not function as pressure reservoirs. We generally see that blood pressure is lower as blood moves further from the heart, so elastic recoil isn't particularly useful in these arteries. At about 6 millimeters in diameter, which is roughly 1/4 of an inch, they are much smaller in diameter than the elastic arteries, and they tend to function in vasoconstriction, which controls blood pressure. The arterioles are the smallest diameter of the arteries. Their diameter, which is equal to 37 micrometers or 0.037 millimeters. Because they are so small, their walls primarily consist of smooth muscle. So the arterioles function as resistance vessels, which means that they can control blood flow by changing their diameter, which also changes their resistance to blood flow as a result of those changes in diameter. And we see that the arterioles are the vessels that deliver blood to capillary beds. The nervous system and hormones are the primary signals that control arterial diameter, and we see that arterial dilation permits blood flow to tissues, while arterial constriction causes blood flow to bypass those capillaries served by those particular arterioles. So to summarize, we see that the elastic arteries are the largest in diameter. They are generally the highest pressure but lowest resistance to blood flow, and they tend to contain proportionally more elastic connective tissue in their walls than we see in the other arteries. The muscular arteries tend to be intermediate in diameter and contain primarily smooth muscle in their walls. They function to distribute blood all over the body, and we also see that the muscular arteries are the most common type of artery. And last but not least, we have the arterioles, which are the smallest in diameter in terms of the arteries. Their walls are made primarily of smooth muscle, and they function primarily as resistance vessels, which helps to determine blood flow to capillary beds.